All right, guys, it looks like we are live. At least that's what it's telling me. So let me know in the chat if you guys are seeing me and hearing me clearly. I see so many of you guys, and I am so incredibly appreciative of all of you. Elizabeth, Janine, Dawn, Sarah, Ranger, thank you for being here. Jean, Stacy, Tracy, there are so many of you guys in the chat. I see Crystal, Cheryl, and it really means the world to me, I gotta say, when you guys are like all showing up even before the live and really just chatting in here. It's an amazing little community that we've been able to build, and I can see all your comments as they're coming through. So be sure to chat about today's live, and yeah, I'm so excited. Oh, I see even more names. Kay, Dawn, Michelle, Cheryl. This is so exciting. So I have a really fun release for you guys. I'll leave a link in the chat. I believe it's live right now on Ranger's site, which is amazing. So if you guys want to go on there, click that link and like look at the products as we're going. I always like to kind of go on sites and look while they're showing the stuff as well. Yay, Hillary says this is her first live where she's actually in here live. That's so much fun. So basically, we're going to go through all of the different products, which is super exciting. Then we'll go through the samples, and then we'll have a fun time kind of crafting together with some of the new supplies. So yeah, Ranger is saying this is a great release. It is. I am so incredibly excited about it. So let's turn down the work surface and get right into it. We can jump first into the new Lunar Paste, which I know I saw a lot of you guys in the chat were really excited about some new Lunar Paste colors. So let's check it out. So starting off in the new Lunar Paste line, we have Psych. I absolutely love Psych. And you guys know, Psych is one of my favorite ink colors. I can pull out the ink for you too. It's one of my favorite ink colors. It's this super bright and vibrant kind of green color, but it works as a green or a yellow. And that's one thing that I really love about Psych. It's kind of a color that doesn't really know what it is. So let's kind of open it up here. I'm going to tell you right now, Lunar Paste is beautiful in the bottle, but it still is a little bit overwhelming in there. I mean, underwhelming in there, right? You don't get to see too much of that shine. I mean, it's beautiful, don't get me wrong. But when you put it on paper, it comes to a whole new level. And of course, I did use this already. Yours is gonna come completely full. But let me tell you guys, when you put this stuff on paper, it is just amazing. So here is Psych on paper. And this is what I'm telling you, like in the bottle, you can sort of see a little bit of that shine. But in real life, it's like just a mirrored, super shimmery and shiny paste, and I love it. So this is Psych, and I love with this paste, it's a little bit like creamier than other pastes, so it is really easy to kind of spread on the surface. You can get that amazing texture and apply it a little bit thicker if you want to. And then in all of these swatches, I kind of thinned it out, and you can see that like I can't feel that this is even on the cardstock, but it still creates an amazing, almost like mirrored cardstock, which is just beautiful. And then we have it on the black cardstock. So this is something that's so amazing about Lunar Paste, which is one thing that I really love. Sometimes people make these pearlescent pastes, or people will tell me, why don't you just make a white paste and we can color it with our reinkers? Well, the thing with that is the reinkers are just a dye. And with dye, that is a translucent, it's translucent. So when you apply your ink to your surface, if I apply a little bit of Psych to this black, let me show you this right now quick. So this is what a reinker would do, right? If I apply a little bit of Psych to this black cardstock, you're gonna see none of that color. I hate to break it to you. But when we add this mica, this is a colored mica, so they really do an amazing job of matching it specifically to the exact color of the ink, which is amazing, but that's where we are able to see all this amazing color still on the cardstock. So that was super important to me when we came up with the idea for Lunar Paste, that you could work with it on black cardstock or white cardstock, and so that is why I love it in all these different colors, and haven't created a white yet, because you can't really color it and make it amazing on black cardstock like that. And if you do too, this has like the shine of the mica that's in it. If it was just a white, you would just get like a white haze instead of this beautiful kind of mirror of that color. So that's why I love it just how it is. All right, so then the next color is Tropical Tango. Oh, wait, the next color is Minty Fresh. I'm looking over here and I have I have my Tropical Tango ink out, but this is Minty Fresh. So Minty Fresh is just this beautiful neutral color. Let me show you guys here. It's this beautiful neutral ink color. It's almost like a blue kind of robin's egg color, but it's got a little bit of gray to it as well. But in the Lunar Paste, it's just this stunning and beautiful mint color. And again, I used a little bit of it, but you guys can see that color in the jar is just totally stunning. And then let's check out the swatch for the Minty Fresh. Oh, this is why I've been saying Tropical Tango, guys, because I wrote it on my swatch. Okay, ignore that. This is Minty Fresh. That's why I said it. I was like, I swear I saw the name somewhere. All right, so Minty Fresh is just this stunning mint color. It's got a beautiful, beautiful shine to it. And you can just see that amazing mirrored color. And then again, all of that beautiful texture that you've got there. And then I thinned it out and you can see that amazing color. Yes, Ranger's over here laughing at me. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I did these like 30 minutes before the live. So yeah, this is just beautiful. And I love that even though it is kind of a creamy paste, you can still get that amazing texture to it, which is so stunning. Tracy says it sounds like a hint to me. Well, you're not getting Tropical Tango in this release, I can tell you that. And then, of course, Minty Fresh on the black cardstock is just stunning. And again, all of that beautiful texture that we're able to get with it. And we're able to thin it out like that and get a beautiful, beautiful kind of thinned down color. And that's one thing I love about it too. Sometimes I'll just like put this on a piece of cardstock and not really want the texture, but just want that mirrored color to match my project. And so then I can go in and like die cut that and you've got a beautiful mirrored cardstock too, which is just amazing. This is just, I don't even know what cardstock it is really. It's just in my collection of black. I think it might be Gina K's black, but yeah, it's a beautiful black cardstock. So there we go. This is Minty Fresh, not to be confused by my weird labeling, but I absolutely love this color so, so much, and it's just stunning. And I love that we're able to put different colors on here. We usually try to do like the opposite on the color wheel, so here we have a little bit of triple berry for the Lunar Paste logo there. Love it. So then I wanted to also go through and just share a couple different ways to apply it. Like I had mentioned, you can put it through a palette knife and get all of that amazing texture along with your shine and get that really beautifully through a stencil. And I also find that it holds true and it doesn't really run underneath the stencil, which is something that I really like. Even though it's a little bit thinner, you don't really need to protect it from running underneath the stencil. And then here I applied it with a blending brush. Just make sure that whatever you use to apply this color down the surface, because this is going to give you less texture and it's also going to dry like super fast. Lunar Paste has a fast dry time, but especially when you apply it like this, it dries in about a minute. So when you use a blending brush or a blending tool, be sure to rinse it underneath the sink or go on a paper towel with some water and clean that out fully, because otherwise it's going to dry on the surface. Lunar Paste dries and it's got some resins in it too, so you don't want it to kind of harden inside your brushes and things like that. So make sure you also have like a separate set of brushes that you don't care as much about. That is what I kind of do encourage when you're using the Lunar Paste with a brush. And then, of course, you can apply it to black cardstock and get that same effect. And what I love about this, again, is even when you apply it with a blending brush, look at all that amazing color still, right? It's not thinning out the paste. It's not making it less shiny or less colorful. It's got all the same amounts of mica in it. It just applies a thinner layer so that it dries quicker. But if you want to, you can, of course, get that texture going and apply it with a palette knife like you see on this side as well. It's kind of hard to capture that texture, but it feels just amazing. So there we go. Again, I always like to show it on black and white to show you the different colors and if they look any different, and it's just beautiful. So yes, these are Psych and Minty Fresh. All right, so thankfully I got these swatch names correct. So I wanted to compare Slippery When Wet to Psych, because I already saw in the chat too that some people are saying Slippery When Wet, or like Psych, looks kind of yellowish gold, right? And when I first sampled these, I was like, oh, this could be a little bit similar. And then I put it next to Slippery When Wet, and I was like, whoa, we have all been fooled, because I know everybody has been talking about how Slippery When Wet is a beautiful gold color, right? And it is, but it's got a lot of orange to it. So in comparison to this has so much yellow in it, and also just a hint of green, so that it really can work with either one. This could kind of be a little bit of a gold if you just put it by itself, right? It looks a little bit more of like a yellow gold. But then, if you put it with this, of course, it looks a lot more greenish yellow. And then, of course, if you put it with some of the greens, which I'll show you in a second here, you'll see the beauty of this color and how it can really kind of form to any different like color scheme that you want it to. It's amazing. But yes, Psych, Crystal just said Psych could almost be gold if you don't have gold. Yeah, it totally could. And then let's get into this. I always feel like it's really important to show you guys how it's going to fit into your collection with your other colors that you have, just so you can really make the informed decision if you really want it. You know, because we're not always trying to just force you to buy everything. It's like, if it really works in your collection and you think that you love the color, I totally encourage you to add it, but I love to show you how it fits in. So of course we have Psych up top. I wanted to show it with the greens and blues as well. And then we have Minty Fresh, which is that new color. And I think it really fits in the palette just like this. So Psych, of course, is that lighter yellowish, and then it kind of moves into the greens. So if you use it together with Later Gator, it can form that beautiful green family. I think some of these get together would just be like such a beautiful color combination. And then of course Minty Fresh is right in between Clear Skies and Later Gator. It's kind of this more muted down, toned down color, but it's still got all of that beautiful shine to it. And it really is just a mix of that green and blue to get this beautiful in between minty color. I love it. So yes, that is the Lunar Pastes. All right, so I'll probably show a little bit more of those later, but let's go into some of the stamps now. So I always like to start off with the background stamps because I know people love them. So we're going to start off with my peel apart background stamps, and this one is called Pinstripe. Now when you do receive these, they have little kind of connectors in between, just like a little bit of rubber, and all you need to do to kind of separate those is just peel it apart, and then you'll separate all of these different stripes. So the cool part with Pinstripe is it is an 8-piece background stamp, and it is all different stripes, and it separates. So you can peel this apart and get all of these stripes separate, or you can put them together and stamp down the whole background, which is really amazing. So you'll see samples, and I think later in the video I'll demonstrate how this really works, and you'll see the beautiful effects you can get with this. But this is 3 different types of stripes. So you have this one, this section right here, this one, and then it repeats down the background stamp. So you get several different stripes, but then the pattern repeats so that it still is a continuous pattern. Of course, you can stamp it just like this, or you can peel them apart and use them all separate because they all come apart, which is really amazing. And then they're easily able to puzzle back together if you wanted to. Yeah, this one is one of my favorite background stamps. It's so versatile. One thing I do also want to say is when it comes to peel apart background stamps, especially with this one, we haven't done many that have all of the peel apart in them, right? Like this whole background stamp comes apart. I encourage you guys to keep your plastic packaging that comes on. You can see that this is the packaging that it comes with, right? And I actually just keep that on there and I cut it down. So I just go in here with my big shears and I just go right up next to the background stamp and cut any of the excess plastic off. That way you don't have any extra plastic, and then it just becomes one with the background stamp. But then you don't have to take anything apart when you're trying to stamp it. All you need to do is place it on your surface, ink this up, and then you're going to put your ink on it, and you can then stamp it down by just placing the paper inside. So that is what I find to be super helpful when it comes to stamping with this, is just go in and yeah, make sure that you press your cardstock right into it. That's going to give you the best results. Oh no, okay, my mouse lost connection, so we're going to just reconnect it quick here. Sorry about that. I want to make sure that I can like still move things and see all your comments. Great. All right, so we'll move into the next piece here. So the next one is Folk Art Florals. And I love this. It's one of my favorite background stamps. It's got this beautiful motif to it. It's got this really fine line look to it. And there is so much detail in there. One thing that I love about this peel apart stamp is it's got this centerpiece that peels out. So of course, if you want to stamp this motif separate, if you want to kind of create your own pattern in different colors, you totally could kind of stamp it down your card. Or you could then use this background just as it is and stamp down a sentiment right in the center as kind of a more of a focal point. So that's what I really love about this folk art florals. And then again, we make it really easy to just piece together your peel apart stamp, and it fits right in there perfectly. And if you have to, I always like to say, like, if you're having trouble fitting it in, just kind of pick up your peel apart stamp and bend it a little bit, and it'll like go right into place perfectly. So yes, this is the perfect stamp. I absolutely love it. And I love all the little details, and you could really make some beautiful, elegant cards with this one, which is one of my favorite things about it. We're kind of going into more of an elegant feel with some of the stamps, and still giving you that playful feel with some of them. I like to kind of mix it up just so that you guys have a ton of different options. And like I said, you don't need to buy everything, but that's why we do things in kind of different styles and feels and different vibes, so that you can at least pick some things that you absolutely love. So that was folk art florals. Now next we're going to go in with tiny circles. I love tiny circles. This stencil is absolutely amazing. It's got a really great size to it. So basically this continues off with the line of tiny hearts that I did. It's kind of a little series that I'm doing because I found that I needed more small scale designs as I was creating. I like these kind of smaller designs so that you can fit things in with the stencil. You can go in, and if you have a smaller piece, you can like blend in with these designs, whereas I've been creating a lot of large stencils lately. So I found that these really are going to kind of fill in your collection, and you're going to get a lot of use out of it with different textures you can add to the projects. And I'll also really show you too the amazing things you can do with this to add like shading to your stamps and shading to your stencils. It is a simple stencil, but it really is amazing. And it's got these unfinished edges on both of them so that you can, of course, like interlock them and continue the design off. So that's why we did that with those edges, to make sure that they interlock and work together. Now, I also want to say that we did have this background stamp called Bubble Wrap, or this stencil called Bubble Wrap, and I wanted to just compare and show you guys the difference between these. Now, number one, this tiny circles is actually perfect circles, so they're completely round. And this one is bubble wrap. So this one is a little bit more jaggedy. It's got a little bit more playful feel to it. And this one is a lot larger as well. So that is the kind of difference of these. If you have this one, you're still able to add this to your collection. I want to, again, kind of show it and compare it so that you know the complete difference, because you don't have it in your house, so you can't necessarily like see the sizes, but I like to kind of show you guys and give you all the different details about the stencils. Someone is asking how I store my stencils. This is actually just the packaging it comes in. I just cut off the top, and I cut off the little flap that comes with it, and I just keep it right in my Simon Hurley packaging. So it's really simple to have that storage like that. All right, so moving on to the next one, and I love that we did it in navy blue too, so it's really easy to see your stencil design. Sometimes people like put it on white cardstock, and it's very difficult to see. This next one is called Flipflop Chevron, and you guys will kind of understand this as we go through, but this pattern is really easily able to create a double colored chevron design. So you'll see here that this is not completely filled out, right? It almost is, it's just missing one in between. It almost looks like little tire treads. But you could totally stencil the design just like this and leave it as is. You've got a little bit more of an open kind of broken chevron pattern then. But the moment that you're able to turn this and fill in the rest of the chevron pattern, then you can totally complete it and you get a two-colored chevron. I want to show this quick. Let me just show the sample. I think this one's important to show the sample while I show the stencil. Ignore that because you're not even seeing that yet. But you can see on that background there, this one I didn't do a two-toned look. I just went in with my Minty Fresh ink, and then I went in with my Minty Fresh Lunar Paste, and you get that beautiful look on your background. You guys totally didn't see that lemon yet. You didn't see anything. But yeah, that was the Flip-Flop Chevron. I love this design, and hopefully you guys absolutely love it, because then I get to make more that are like it. But it's a really fun and easy stencil, and like I said, we always like make it so that if you just want to use it as is and you don't need to flip it, it's still a beautiful stencil. So that's one thing that I love about it. It leaves a little bit more open space, and it just creates a beautiful look to it. All right. Oh, I guess you guys did see it already. If you saw it on Instagram, you already saw it. So we are going to go in next with the Lemon Branch Stencil. And this one creates a really beautiful lemon branch. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we gave you a little sample on the back of the layering stencil. So that way you're easily able to kind of follow this and see exactly how it lines up together. This is a two stencil layering set. So here we have the different pieces in it. I'm gonna probably show how this works in a little bit, but you have the branch, you have the lemons, then you have the leaves, and you have the leaf segments, the leaf shading on it as well. So this is a really fun and easy stencil to use, and I want to say it coordinates along with the Zesty stamp set too. So this is going to fit exactly over top of this image right here. So this branch, if you want to, you could totally just do it like this, and you're gonna have a beautiful looking lemon branch. So that's why we named it different, so that you know that it doesn't have to coordinate. But then we made this Zesty stamp set, and this gives even more detail as it fills it in. You can see all that beautiful stippling of the design. I love that. So it almost adds this shading in for you. So this Zesty stamp set is one of my favorites. This lemon branch is quite large. I always like to bring out a piece of cardstock in the A2 size card, so you guys can really see this lemon branch is going to fill out a card front, which is really beautiful about it. I see that Kathy Zilski's in here. Hey, Kathy. So yeah, I love that this lemon can really easily fill in this card front. I love that with my images because sometimes I don't want to stamp 5 different images to fill out a whole card, right? Sometimes I just want a couple different focal points. So I like to make my images a little bit larger sometimes to really make that super easy. Then with these lemons, again, I did some stippling in all of these different designs so that you get your shading already in there. And then you have the lemon that is solid. So you get these solid versions of the stamps too, so you're easily able to color them in with your inks. And you're easily able to use them by themselves if you just want the solid image and no lines as well. And then we've got some really fun sentiments, like you make things look easy peasy lemon squeezy. You're the zest. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I love that one. Have a zesty birthday. Hello, you got this. Thank you. I always like to include ones just that are super nice and basic in the same font, so that if you guys love the stamp set but you don't want to use those puns, you've got some really awesome sentiments still. And then you're my main squeeze. So I love these guys. And then of course we got to make it Simon Hurley create somehow. So even though it's a little bit more of kind of this elegant style stamp set, we did include a nice face you can add on top and some arms and legs if you want to make these little lemons come to life. So I did still include that. We're still staying true to that playful style that we had from the start. So if you guys kind of enjoy that style, I still want to provide some things that'll do that for you. So yes, the Zesty stamp set and the Lemon Branch Stencil layering set can coordinate together, or they can work separately if you want a little bit more detail. Yes, those are arms and feet. You can totally bring that lemon guy to life. I'm telling you, it's fun. It's a fun one. All right, and then last but not least, we have Pretty Peonies. I love this stamp set. This one, if you guys were part of the Brutus Monroe class, I did a class recently, and we actually did a kind of pre-release for the people in that class. So if you were a part of that, you got this stamp set for free. But this is just a really fun stamp set. I don't know if you guys can see, but there is so much detail in these flowers too. It's not just solid blobs that we give you. It's got all the lined detail that was in that's taken out of this. So you could totally use these separately by themselves and get that beautiful image. But then you also have these lined images that'll give you a lot of beautiful detail to them, but you can color them in using some of these stamps. So this one has some coordinating solid stamps. You've got these leaves that have coordinating solids, and then this one from an above view have the coordinating solid stamp as well. This one's got a little scratch in it, but that's not part of the design. And then tomorrow is a new day, thinking of you at this time. You're in my prayers. You bring me so much joy, sending sunshine, and then hugs. And this I love, the elegance of this stamp set. Yeah, lots of you guys are loving this. Kathy says she's loving this stamp set. Yes, it's one of my favorites. I love the thin lines to it, so it really does give an elegant look and gives a really beautiful style to your stamp. And I also love the encouraging stamp sentiments. I think that's so needed at this time. And I find myself making a lot of cards that are just encouraging, and they put a smile on people's faces in kind of tough times. And so I think that is really important to have some really great encouraging sentiments in this kind of beautiful font. All right, so now let's go through some of the samples. I've got quite a few here to share, and then we're going to get into crafting with all of the amazing products as well. So guys, I was talking about, yes, there are digital files available for the clear stamp set on Ranger's site, so you guys can check those out. So with that lined stamp set, I showed you guys that, and I'm going to show you it again really quick here. The thing I love about it is you're able to take apart these pieces and really rethink them in a new way. So you could use them on angles like I did here. I did kind of a cross diagonal angle, and it creates such a beautiful effect. And I might just have to share that in today's live too. I'm really going to show so much because these products have so much versatility to them, and you can use them in so many different ways. So here I went through with, I think, like Shooting Star, Psych, Clear Skies, No Diving, and Crown Me. And I did that overlapping kind of plaid look so that it gives this beautiful effect in the center there. And then I just die cut a circle and put on the simple sentiment that says, "You are in my prayers." And I think it finishes it off nicely. That background really just stands out on its own. Yes, this one, I'm telling you, the stripes look like, my friend said it looks like a barcode. And I was like, but you don't understand. Like, you can peel this out, you can create such beautiful things with it. You just have to kind of reimagine how it looks. But I love it just as stripes too. You'll see it as stripes, and it is just beautiful. This one, again guys, I'm telling you, so many different things you could do with it. So here I used it straight up and down, and then across. So I kind of covered up the intersection here, but you can see it creates another beautiful plaid look. Guys, I've been obsessed with plaid, and it is just such an amazing pattern and such a simple, like, long-lasting design. So this stamp is never going to go out of style because it's just a plaid, right? It's just so simple. Plaid is just such a beautiful and classic design that I absolutely love. And then after I did those warmer colors, I took the Zesty stamp set and I stamped down some of the lemons and really just easily and simply blended on some color. Super light there, you don't need to do a lot, but it just made a nice focal point for this card. And then last but not least, with this stripe background stamp, I went in and I stamped down the stripes kind of going down the card on an angle like this. And then I went back in and I masked off each stripe with just a little bit of tape. It was super easy since it's a straight line. And then I went in and blended on the same exact color, just pretty light, but I wanted it to be less stark white. And so this gives those beautiful stripes, but also softens them down a little bit with some ink. Then I went in again simply with the Pretty Peony stamp set. I stamped down one of the flowers. I stamped down some of the solid leaves in black, so you don't even have to use the outline sometimes. And then I heat embossed it, of course, because that's my specialty. But then again, just a little bit of light yellow ink. I like to kind of make if it's like a super colorful background, sometimes I like to make the image just white or like a really light color like this, just to make the background stand out and make it the star of the show on the card. So I'm telling you guys, so many of you guys are like, this one is added to my cart. I need this stamp. I would agree. It's one of my favorites from the release, and it just is so much versatility put into one background stamp. So I'm with you guys all on that one. So then we have the Folk Art Florals stamp. And I love this one. It just is such a beautiful motif, and it is so elegant on the cards as well. So for this one, like I told you, you can peel out that center piece. There's that one piece in the center that comes out right here. And so you can peel that out and then make room for a sentiment instead of having to mask things off, which I really love that. I love that you're able to either stick a flower there or a sentiment or some sort of focal point. And then I went in and blended all the way around with some of my warm colors of inks, and I absolutely love how it looks. Then from that one, I went in with my stamping foam. Oh, you guys. Guys, okay, we're gonna introduce it next. This wasn't a mistake, it was totally on purpose. Today, I'm just like losing it. All right, people at Ranger are probably like, oh, he really forgot the stamping foam. All right, so here I used stamping foam and I did the reverse of the image. So it makes it white and then it colors in the whole background here. So I stamped that down with the stamping foam, and one thing you'll probably notice about this is it seems a little bit larger than the normal size stamping foam, right? This is maybe a good segue. So any of you guys who went on the website already know stamping foam. We have a new size. I'm a little bit all over the place today, but we have a new size of the stamping foam. It is 4.5 by 5 3/4 inches, and it comes in a 2-piece pack like this. We'll open this up in just a second and we'll actually start crafting with it, because that was what I was going to do in today's live, is use the stamping foam, but it would help if I actually showed you guys the stamping foam. So basically, this was the original size, and it fit about like this, and it was a really great focal point on the front of cards, which I really love. Like, right, this is not going to replace this. One thing I love about this one is it just creates such a beautiful focal with a nice border around it. But this stamping foam is going to fill out the whole card, and you can see it actually goes over the edges of the card. So it's going to be super easy to line up and super easy to cover the whole A2 size card with this new larger size stamping foam. So yes, now we came out with an A2 size card. Everyone was freaking out in my last release because we had the heart cut and everyone was like, where is the rectangle? He needs a rectangle, he needs a large rectangle. Today is your day. So anybody who is asking for the large rectangle, it's your day, it's your special day to celebrate, because we've got it now. It comes in this 2-pack, like I said, same resealable bag like you get with the other ones. But I absolutely love this new size of the stamping foam, and we're gonna have things coming to work alongside it and make it really easy to work with, but I'll share it more in today's live about it. It is absolutely amazing, and yes, it is definitely quite large. Yes, so if you just click this link, I think some people are trying to kind of figure out what we're talking about. If you click the link in the chat right now or the link in my description, you're gonna find kind of my whole release and my whole product line from Ranger. So everything that we're talking about today will be listed there. Then we have the Flipflop Chevron, like I showed you guys. So you can really create these beautiful chevron backgrounds. Again, you could do it two-toned, or you can do it with like Lunar Paste and then a regular color. I really love the idea that you can do it with so many different things like that and create such beautiful backgrounds. All right, and then I used the Zesty stamp set again to create those lemons on there, and then I just made the stamp, you make things look easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right. Yeah, Ranger is in the comments. Thank you so much, Megan, kind of helping people out if they have any specific questions about the website. So this is then those lemons from that lemon branch, from the lemon branch stencil. I used the stencil to color it in, but I used the Zesty stamp set from the lemon branch from that stamp set to easily able to add all of that amazing detail on there. And then this background is just simply blended out using a little bit of no diving. And then I went on top with a little bit of darker or a heavier hand with the no diving and went in with those tiny circles. And I absolutely love how that looks. It's just a stunning card. And then we have the same lemon branch in a couple different varieties. I used just the lemon branch by itself, and you can see it still is completely and totally beautiful. It's still got some detail to it. I love the detail in the leaves, and it still looks absolutely stunning by itself. So it really just depends on what kind of look you guys want. If you guys want both sets to coordinate, if you guys want just one of them, they totally work by themselves or together. Again, this one is using that Flipflop Chevron in the same exact way. And then this one I used the stripes in the background for a nice tone-on-tone effect. So I was totally telling you guys, you don't have to peel anything apart to get just a beautiful striped background. And then with this stencil, I went through on the lemon branch stencil and actually added a little bit of Slippery When Wet through the stencil, and then I added a little bit of Later Gator. And it just is beautiful there. You get that beautiful shine, which I love about stencils. It's so easy to add the paste through the stencils and get that beautiful effect and all of that amazing shine. All right, this next card is using actually some older products. I used this Grand Greenery stencil, and I actually embossed it through my die cutting machine. And I'll show you guys how to do that in a future video if you want to, but it gives some beautiful texture. Then I offset it and did a little bit of that blending using the same Grand Greenery stencil. Then I went in and stamped down this flower from Pretty Peonies, and I ended up blending in the color here. Now I didn't use a stencil, I actually just went in and added down the color with some little tiny mini blending tools, those detail blending tools. And then I went in on top with the tiny circles, and I went back in with that same color and a little bit of a heavier hand, and it creates that texture. So like I said, this is really what those tiny stencils were designed for. I love to add texture onto my projects whenever I'm coloring. I find that it really brings to life these different images and projects. So that's what I did with that tiny circles, and that's really why it was designed. You'll see you can use it with the lemons, you can use it with other stencils. It really just creates some beautiful texture, and it's that perfect tiny scale where it, adds lots of dots on there. Where if I tried doing that with like bubble wrap, like this, you'd get like a few dots, but it's just too big, right? So that's what I really wanted this for, to bring a new scale to your crafting, because scaling is so important when it comes to stencils and things, and background stamps and products like that. Sometimes I found I was designing things a little bit too big, which I liked because it created focal points, but you also need the products that are too small to like kind of fit in and blend together, things like this. I love that one. Love that card. And then these were some cards I made in the Brutus Monroe class. So here I used the actually original stamping foam to do this background using some of the images from Pretty Peonies. Then I used the Pretty Peonies stamp, and then I used the solid images to color this one in. So you could just use the solid images and stamp them down, and you get that beautiful inked shading. And then I did the same thing. Here I went in and again used my tiny stamping foam, the original stamping foam, and I went in and did the exact same thing with the Pretty Peonies stamps, and I shaded those each individually. There's lots of videos on using the stamping foam like that. And then this one, I actually stamped down a bunch of the images from the Pretty Peonies stamp set in a bunch of different colors, kind of ombre fading down. And then I went in with a product you'll find on the site. This one is called Rectangle Blends. It works really well with the stamping foam because it's the same exact size, but I also like it to kind of spotlight images on the card. So here I put that stencil down front and center on the card, and I just inked those same colors down, but I did it a little bit lighter. So it kind of stands out. It almost looks like a 2-layer card, but it's a 1-layer using this rectangle blend stencil. Again, guys, sometimes the simplest products, like this is one thing that I've been learning over the time of designing products. Sometimes the simplest things, and the things that aren't all hand-drawn, and the things that just kind of look like this in its packaging are really the best in the long run. Like this one is so incredibly versatile. Those circles are so versatile, but it just doesn't seem like, in the packaging, it doesn't look like a ton, but like those are always the easiest to use on your cards and get the most life out of them. I love it. All right, guys, so that is the full release, and now we get to go through and make some cards together. So let's get into it. I wanted to first show you guys quickly how this stencil really easily worked. And for this, I already went in with the Zesty stamp set, and I stamped down the lemon branch using some black ink. And then I went in and I heat embossed it as well. I like to just heat emboss for no reason besides the fact that it just looks a little bit more finished with that shine, and it also just kind of creates a nice dark effect of that black ink. I find that it kind of intensifies it a little bit. I don't know if that's just me, but that's why I love using clear heat embossing powder over black inks. Thank you so much, Kathy. All right, so I'm gonna bring in my Make Art Station so that I can have this magnetic surface to work on. And we are going to start our stenciling. So I wanted to show you guys kind of how this stencil works, and then of course you could take the same measures, and I'll share in future videos too how you can use it without the stamp behind it. All right, so we can go in here, and I'm going to place down my stencil. It's pretty easy to line up, especially with the stamp there. It makes it even easier. If you don't have the stamp though, I recommend like maybe starting with the leaves. We numbered all of these just to make it really easy, but you don't have to follow the numbers. If you're struggling, like there's some images like the leaves where it's gonna really easily able to fill in the lemons afterwards, right? So that's what kind of makes it easy. Just finding little areas where there are like things that you can really identify, and that'll help you put it together. So we're gonna start off with a little bit of shooting star, and I'm going to really lightly blend these lemons down. And I'm gonna show something a little bit different. So stay tuned if you're like, well, we already saw the lemons. I'm gonna show you guys how to use this a little bit differently. So I'm gonna go in and lightly blend out each one of these guys. So I'm just going in with Gina K's blending brushes. I love these blending brushes for doing kind of blending like this where there's a little bit more detail to it. I find that this is gonna not really catch on any edges. We do make sure that there's not really any edges to catch on, but I like this because we're gonna get all of that detail in there. All right, so once we blended down that first layer, we can easily take our stencil, and without moving anything, I'm going to actually go in and grab my tiny circles stencil. So this is where this comes in handy. We're going to kind of place it down, and you know what? No, I'm going to place it down on top like this, yes. There's a couple ways you can kind of add this down, but placing it on top is one of those ways. The other way you could do this is you could add it down first, and then go through it and blend, and then you'll have the circles kind of continuously going if you don't ever move them, but this is totally good. And then I'll go in with a little bit of Slippery When Wet, because this is just that little bit of darker yellow color, and it's gonna add some beautiful blending to it. So we'll start kind of from the top of that lemon, and work our way down, and I kind of follow this stamp. The one thing I do love about having the stamp there is it makes it really easy to add our shading in, because all you need to do is follow those kind of stippled marks that are on the stamp, and you're gonna get your beautiful shading in there. Again, just go in. And so here, we're only adding our shading through those circles, and you're gonna see just how beautiful it is. All right. So then we'll lift off our stencil, and this is what I love about the Make Art Station. There's not a ton of tape here. And then if we want to, we can just go back in quick, and I'm just going to add a little bit more of this color just on the edge there to kind of soften out the color and make it kind of blend in a little bit more. There we go. Then it's not as like stark that the circles are there, but it's just beautiful. I hope this is making sense. Sometimes I feel like I'm just rambling on, but I hope that it makes sense, kind of my thought process behind some of these products. So we've got that first stencil down. Now there's a couple different options. Oh my gosh, I love it. Guys, look at that. So that's why I created those small circles, so that they really easily able to kind of fit things together and fill in those areas. Honestly, I have been focused so much on looking down at my project that I haven't even looked at the comments in probably a couple minutes. So, okay, some people are talking about the Lunar Pastes being darker. I knew that this question was going to come up. All right, so the Lunar Pastes do look darker, but I'll go over that in just a second. You're gonna understand why completely, because they actually do match, but they match at certain angles and they're darker at certain angles. Because with a product like that, it's tricky because you can't get one color with it because it's got so many shifts to it. So I'll go over that in just a second, but that is actually a great question and I really appreciate you asking it. I know some people might look at that as like an insult, but it's like, no, I do want to show you why it is that different way, because yeah, we do think of all of those different things, and our chemist does a really great job. Steve does a great job at kind of matching all those colors, and I'm super thankful for all the work they put in, because sometimes we're a little bit picky. We're like, oh, you know, that color needs to be changed just the slightest bit, and they really nail it every time. But I'll show you guys. So we can peel off this section next. Just use a little bit of that mint tape from scrapbook.com to kind of mask that off. And then last but not least, we'll go in with our leaves here. So with the leaves, we can just go in and add this down. Now, if you want to do circles on everything, you totally can. Or if you just want to add the circles to the lemon, you can totally do that as well. I think I'm just gonna stick with maybe just the circles on the lemon. I don't think we need to add it to everywhere. And I'm gonna go in with my greens. We'll start off with a little bit of Later Gator, and we'll go in just a little bit lighter. And I always like to add more shading to like the start of it. So always, even if there's only like one stencil, I do like to add my own shading to it too, just to kind of bring things to life. All right. Go in there, and there we have that filled out. And then we can lift this off and move down to the second layer. So this is just going to cover up half of those leaves. You can see the lines on the leaves are going to really easily help you align this perfectly. And then we'll go in with a darker color. This one happens to be Fake Plant. It's kind of in the same color realm, but it's quite a bit darker. So it's going to give me some really great shading on top of these leaves. Well, thank you. It looks like lots of you guys are enjoying this. All right. So then we can lift this off and you can really see these lemons be brought to life. I love it. So this is one thing I love about these kind of stencils where they layer up. It just really brings any image to life like this, because of course I could go in with my water brush and I could water these in, and it's going to give beautiful color that way too, but that's going to take a lot longer. And if you are really familiar with inks, but you're not great at watercolor, or you don't really know how to blend the colors together with watercolor, this makes it like guessless. There's no guessing with this. We've made the stencil super easy so that it all lines up perfectly, and you can layer things up. So if you want to layer this stencil up and you want to put like Lunar Paste through there and get those dots in colors or in that shine, that could be super cool too. There's a lot of different ways to go about doing it, but I love that the stencil makes it so incredibly versatile to color things in. And like I said, I even blended Lunar Paste through the stencil. So instead of having to like go on with a brush with Lunar Paste, you can use it through the stencil and get that beautiful coloring inside the lines. All right, so that is the lemon branch stencil. Now let's move on to, let's talk quickly about the Lunar Pastes. All right. I want to talk about these guys because I think that's a really important point that someone brought up, that they don't really match the ink colors. Let's see. So, I mean, I wish I had like my sample swatches here, but let me just show you guys Minty Fresh in particular. So this is the thing about Lunar Pastes, right? Because totally, at this color, it does not match. I'm gonna tell you that right now. If you are looking for a color match when it's not shiny, you're not gonna get that color matched. But when it shines, it becomes an incredibly light color. So then I was like, well, how am I gonna match these pastes? Because when it looks like this, it looks like a completely different shade. And when it goes like this, it looks like the exact same shade. So here's what we did. Pretty much whenever it shifts to the light, that is what color we're matching. So that is what the Lunar Paste is going to match. So this is Minty Fresh, and when I tilt it like this, it pretty much identically matches that color. Same thing with all of the other pastes. Now we make them with the exact color powder like I was talking about. So sometimes it's not exactly like spot on to a T because we can't do it with a dye, but almost all these colors are really down to a science, created to look exactly like the color whenever it's at its shiniest state. And the thing that I love about this actually is that whenever you're layering up Lunar Paste on top of your color or using it with the exact same color ink like this, you can still tell the difference, right? Because when I tilt it like this and I'm just holding the card straight on a camera, you can't even see it, but when I'm holding that card straight on, it still looks like two completely different colors, and I love that contrast. But when you go like that, right, it just creates that beautiful shine to it. So that is the science behind the Lunar Pastes and how we did the colors and how we matched everything. It really was up to me, but it was like, I wanted things to match when they were shiny because that's really the whole point of Lunar Paste, is to look beautiful like that. And so that's where I wanted it to match the ink. But I wanted it to kind of slightly contrast, and it's going to be darker than the actual color when it's not shiny. So yes, I hope that that wasn't too much rambling. I hope that that made sense. But one thing that I love about Lunar Paste too, and I want to say this, is it really is completely different than lots of the other pastes on the market. Because Ranger makes them in-house in New Jersey, we have so much say over the colors, and we have so much say over the formulation and things like that. And they always make sure that it's down to a T, like pretty much perfect. And one thing that I love about it too, some people have been comparing my pastes to others where they've kind of dried out really quickly, but I've actually seen people compare them and they didn't even have the pastes in hand. But I know that a lot of people who have these pastes can really vouch that these pastes don't dry out over time. I mean, there is a shelf life to everything, which is several years it should probably take to dry out. And these samples, I've actually had samples over in my bin for like 2.5 years already when we were testing out the Lunar Paste, and they haven't dried out one bit. Now, of course, if you're in a kind of a drier climate, you do maybe want to go in there with that press and seal technique where you kind of go in and press the press and seal down into there and put it over the lid before you screw it on. I'm over here in Wisconsin and I haven't found any issues with these drying out. So that is one thing that I love about them, is we're not just like outsourcing some random formulation that we don't really know what it is. I do love to say that because some people kind of have skipped over these because they've had bad experiences with paste in the past. But I do have to say that these have been really great with that effect, and I would not keep promoting them if they dried out. So they do lots of testing in the lab to make sure that these are going to be perfect for you guys. So I did want to go over that, but that is what makes Ranger's pastes and inks and things a lot different. It's super, super amazing to be working with them and work with Steve to make these just amazing. So long story short, that is how the colors match when they are at its shiniest point. All right, so guys, let's talk about this striped background now, because I want to show you guys how to build these patterns. I'm going to peel off the 3 stripes. Oh, there is some Lunar Paste. So I'm going to peel off these 3 stripes, and we're going to use these to do our stamping. Now I'm going to just grab an acrylic black. This one you might see it again in the future. But I'm going to grab an acrylic black that's large enough so that we can do our stamping here. So just whatever kind of acrylic block you have. It is a 6-inch stamp, so it's going to need to fit that. And then I'm going to go in with, this is a Bruce Monroe Stick and Stamp Mat. I believe these are probably out of stock right now, but these are amazing. And this is really what I used to build all of my stamped backgrounds, because I got my stark white cardstock here. It's got the lines to line up your stark white cardstock on, but it also has these grid lines. And I know if you have any of the sticky mats, it'll probably be helpful. But the thing I love about this is it's got these lines here so that I can easily line up my angles. I can line it up if I want it exactly straight on the card. So that is what I love about this with those grid lines there. Oh, Debbie. Yes, Debbie was the one who answered that question about the colors and them not matching. Yes. So when it's in that shiniest point, that is where you look for it to match. All right. Oh, someone is asking about the station. Yes, you can find the Make Art Station on Ranger's website. All right, so I'm going to go in with, let's do Prom Queen. I loved this kind of rainbow. Let's do this. So I loved Bee Sting, and we'll do Guppy as well. This is one of my favorite color combos. Some people ask, like, ooh, what's your favorite? This. This is one of my faves. I love these warm colors. They're absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of Guppy here. And we're going to go in with my inks. Now, one thing I love about my inks, again, a little ink refresher. Mine are really great at blending, like outstanding at blending. I'm going to say that's probably one of their best features. And then they're also great at watercoloring, and they do some cool watercolor effects, but they also do amazing when it comes to stamping. So I'm going to go in here. You can see I lined it up with that line right there and this line down here. I'm just going to give it some good pressure so that it transfers beautifully. And look at that. And it's going to smooth out a little bit over time, but you can see it got a pretty amazing stamped image right away. And for a water-based ink, there's not many on the market that do great at all 3 things. So that's one thing I just love about my inks too. And again, made by Ranger in New Jersey with our chemists. So it's got that special formulation that no one else has. All right, so again, we're going to start at these 2 lines. Same thing on the other side, and that's how I got it so even, guys. It like really makes it so simple when you're on kind of a grid mat like this, or if you want to add it down to your grid mat at home, that could be super helpful as well. But yes, people in the comments are like, now I know how you got your lines so straight. Yes, it was not guesswork. It really wasn't. It was lining it up on here. Now, there was, I think, one that I did without lining it up, and I'm going to say that you also could, let me show you. You also could stamp down one of these lines, and then once you've got one stamped on whatever kind of angle you would like, you can then just follow it down. So I think that one with the stripes, I just followed it down with the edge of my stamp, making sure that that was straight against this edge, and then I can stamp it down, and that's going to keep your same angle as well. All right, so this one I'm going to stamp down with a little bit of Prom Queen. I love Prom Queen. It's one of those colors that are just super bright and vibrant. I do think that some of my inks probably need a little bit of a re-inker right now. I'll have to re-ink them after this live. All right, so then again, I'm going to put my head kind of over top, and I'm just going to line up that edge there. You're going to need to look over it like I just did, because once that first grid line is done, then you're just going to follow it with the stamp, right? So you're just going to follow exactly how that stamp is down, and make sure that your stamp, it looks like it's a little tiny bit crooked on the acrylic black, but it's not too big of a deal. Just make sure that when you pick up your stamp, you're not pressing it onto the acrylic black. Make sure that you just pick it up from your desk, and that's going to give you the straightest line. Yay, I can see lots of you guys are saying that you ordered stuff. That is so amazing. Look at that stamping. So when it overlaps, again, this is what's so cool about this dye ink, is that it is a translucent dye-based ink. So you're gonna see that color, but also you can see through the color. So you can see where these lines intersect, they still show the other lines through it, and it makes new colors. And that is what I love about this plaid. And each one of these 3 stripes is slightly different, so it's also creating a little bit of a different pattern rather than just repeating the same stripe. So I'm gonna place this here. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm just gonna place my stamp down on my surface to make sure that it's nice and straight. And then I'll pick it up and we can do our stamping. Here I'm using a little bit of bee sting. And we'll go in and ink that up. Again, I'm going to kind of lean over this and stamp it down. Just so cool. I love it. I've never really seen a background stamp like this one where you could just peel everything out and create these kind of like beautiful stripe designs like this and really like make your own background with it. And the coolest thing about this is when I first started stamping, I was a big fan of inks and background stamps and everything like this. But the reason why I kind of came up with the idea for peel apart background stamps is because I loved background stamps so much, but I didn't love that every time you use a background stamp and every time someone else uses a background stamp, of course your cards are going to look different with the colors and your styles, but after that, your backgrounds are going to look exactly the same. So the cool part about peel apart background stamps, at least, is you can totally use it just as a normal background stamp, right? And you can just stamp down that background and get that beautiful color down and get that amazing texture. But if you want to, like we're doing today, where you peel out all these different pieces and you're using it, you know, totally how you want it and how it fits your project, that's the coolest part about it to me, because no one really can create this exact looking background again, right? And that's what I think is so cool, is you can use it to your liking and you can really tailor the stamp to exactly how you want to use it. So that's what's so important when it comes to these background stamps for me. It's almost like you're getting a whole stamp set with one background. Oh, I just love that. And then you know what? We're gonna add one more color at the bottom. We'll finish it off with just a little bit of, should we do Midnight Snack? I like that one. Oh, I need to change this. I need to change the stripe. We're following a pattern here. Good thing I didn't stamp it down. All right, we're gonna change to this stripe, pick it up, and then last but not least, we'll go in then with Midnight Snack. Mark says you made a Superman card. Yeah, I do love it. It is so much fun, and you can do it too. It really is quite easy to do. But the thing I love about this is anybody can do this, and anybody can create the exact pattern that they want. Like you can see in my examples that I created 3 different types of plaids with this one stamp, and there are honestly endless opportunities to create it exactly how you want it. Someone says, I really love this idea. Christine says, I really love this idea. It feels like you can really take ownership of your project. And that is totally what it is for me too. It was like, that is what I really wanted people to be able to do, is just go in and create exactly whatever they wanted using their background stamp. Because ultimately, you're really paying for the versatility of it. All right, so then all it takes is you to just go back in and kind of, if you want them exactly in the same pattern that it was in, all you need to do is just kind of figure out how the pattern is working, and then you can easily place them right back in, and they just fit perfectly back together like this. And I'll kind of refigure out the pattern again in a little bit. Oh, I actually think this is it. And they just fit perfectly back on, but this is what I'm talking about with keeping that plastic on there, just to make sure that everything is going to kind of stay intact as you're creating with it. So there we go. That is our background stamp. It is called Pinstripe. And to get this off, I just kind of bend this mat upward to release my project. And there we have a beautiful, beautiful background. And all this needs is either a little bit of a focal point or just a sentiment like I showed at the top there, and it is going to create the most beautiful background ever. I love it. I just love it. And again, some of the most simple things like these stripes really kind of might not look like a lot in the packaging, right? But once you get them out and you're playing with them, it is like amazing. You could do so much with them. And when I thought to pull them apart, and I was like, well, what if I crisscross it and create this plaid? And it's like, just amazing. All the things you could do with it. All right. Are there any other things you guys would like to see quick today before we hop off? I think we can probably do one more technique. And the really cool part about this stick and stamp mat too, again, I think it's going to be in stock again soon. All you do is just spray it down with water and wipe it off. And it's just going to regain its sticky. So once all that water kind of evaporates off the surface, it'll become completely sticky again and usable for your next project, which I absolutely love by it. Look, it's already starting to stick again. It's just amazing. So, someone said, could you number the stripes in alcohol marker? You totally could. You could go in and on your background stamp, just write in marker exactly the number of the stripes and where they all belong. You totally could do that. There's not really like a rhyme or reason, or you could do like 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, so that you know like exactly what order they go in. It just depends on your liking, but yeah, you could totally order it from 1 to 8 if you want with alcohol marker. Just lift this up and go right onto the stamp, and then you can put that number right there. I would maybe use like a paint marker or an alcohol marker. Yeah, one of those is going to work beautifully and get that really awesome look. Hey, scrapwood.com. That's awesome. All right, let's do one more thing. I want to show the stamping foam. Once again, I'm a little out of it today. I don't know why, but I'm just forgetting things left and right. And I told you guys I was going to show you the stamping foam. So let's open this up. So if you just pull off that top header card, there is going to be a nice resealable bag. So if you guys want to use this for your storage, you totally could, or you can put them in a little bin on your desk. And this comes with 2 pieces of foam in your package. So I really love the stamping foam, and I love that there is 2 pieces right in here, so you can easily do all of your amazing stamping with it. So I'm going to take one out. This is how your stamping foam is going to look. And like I already have showed you guys, this fits perfectly on an A2 size card, and it's going to overhang a little bit. So that way when you are doing this, and stamping it down on the card, you can make sure that you're going to get the whole background covered and not like waste any space on there. Or like if it was perfectly to size, you don't need to like make sure that it's perfectly exactly lined up, since it is a little bit bigger than that. All right, so I'm going to go in again with my acrylic block, bring that guy in. And again, this might look a little familiar in a couple months. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of mint tape. And I just loop the mint tape on the back. There have been some people who have told me that they tried other tapes and they kind of ripped their stamping foam. So that is one thing that I really do love about the mint tape, is it is like the perfect amount of tack to stick down but not rip anything. All right, so I'll add these onto the edges. And this is what I like to do with my stamping foam, just to make sure that we're going to get a nice solid impression there. So I like to put it on this acrylic block, and you can use any large piece of acrylic like this, and I just place it down. This is going to ensure that you get a nice even pressure all the way across, and this acrylic block is like a little bit thicker. You want something that's a little bit thicker. If you have something that has a little bit of give to it, it's going to do the same thing as just your hand, where if you press in an area, it's going to press down in that, but not others. Whereas this, when you press down on the edges and kind of rock it back and forth, it's going to give you even pressure all the way across. Mint tape is different than purple tape. It is kind of it's a different feel to it. I happen to like mint tape a little bit better after experimenting with it for quite some time. But it's kind of that same tacky, low tack tape that's going to not tear your cardstock. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to go in, and this is my new Folk Art Florals background stamp. I absolutely love it. I'm gonna go in with my Ranger Heat It tool. Now, this is not a hairdryer, so you can't use a hairdryer to heat this up. This is a heat tool from Ranger, but it just has a larger opening to it. I find that you can use an embossing tool as well. This one is a little bit of a finer nozzle, and it's gonna direct the heat a little bit more. But the thing that I love about this, which you might have better luck with, is that it kind of spreads the heat out a little bit more. So it's not concentrating it in one area, it's kind of spreading it out, which is great because then it's more evenly heated all the way across, and you're gonna get a more even heat pressure image. All right, so I'm gonna start heating this up, and you're gonna wanna heat it for probably about 20 to 25 seconds, and keep your heat tool constantly moving across the background. Now, when it comes to this larger stamping foam, I do like to stand up. Full disclosure, I like to stand up because it's a little bit more difficult to press into the background and get a solid impression. Now I'm going to probably turn this sideways because that's what I like to do. And then right when I'm done heating, I'm going to take it out and press it down. Give it some good pressure and start rocking back and forth. And there we go. Now you'll see that we are getting that image, right? But it's not super detailed in there. If you want to, you could try it again. You can press down more and get more of an image and an impression in the stamping foam. But I'm actually just gonna leave it like this. One thing you'll find is that it's a little bit more difficult to evenly heat across the surface. Of course, this acrylic block really helps to get that pressure in there, but it's gonna kind of cool down in areas on one side when you're not heating the other side. So when it comes to this larger stamping foam, I don't expect a great, like, super deep impression. And in fact, sometimes the super deep impression will give you less details because it's too far deep into there that it's not pressing into the paper once it's done, if that makes any sense. So when it comes to this, you're gonna think that this is not going to give you a great impression, but I'm gonna prove you wrong right now. It's gonna give you still all of that amazing detail. So I'm gonna go in with a little bit of Crown Me, and you can see with that light pressure that I'm adding, it's already just resisting the ink on there. And it's not super deep. You don't really need it to be super deep. I think that was one of the biggest myths of stamping foam. Is like people were looking at their foam and they're like, well, it's not giving me a super deep impression, like I'm a little bit worried. But the reality of it is, you don't need a super deep impression to get the beautiful effects with the stamping foam. All right, we'll go in with a little bit of bee sting next. And I like to go in this kind of swiping and swirling motion instead of doing the tapping. The tapping is going to give you a little bit of like lines on your surface, and I like a smooth and even blend, and I find that swiping on the surface and doing this little swirling motion is going to give me the best application of my ink across the stamp. All right. Then we'll go in with a little bit of guppy. And last but not least, we'll bring in a little bit of Shooting Star, which is that super bright yellow. I'm telling you guys, this is one of my favorite color combos. It's just such a great one. It's got all these great bright colors in it, and I absolutely love it. All right, so now I'm going to go in and do my water spray. So all I do is just kind of hold it at a little bit of a distance. You can use either the Distress Sprayer or you could use this fine mister. This is one that I've been recommending because it just gives a fine mist across the surface, and some people struggle with getting that fine mist. So I'm going to hold it kind of from a little bit of a distance, and I'm going to kind of spray it down and keep my water moving. It's just going to kind of waft it through the water. I think I'll do a little tiny bit more than that. There we go. Perfect. And you want it to look like this, where you really can't see the water droplets, but you can see a little bit of shine from that water. That is going to kind of help things blend, and it's also going to just make sure that this is going to transfer really easily onto the cardstock. It's going to give you almost more of an intense color. I'm going to line up the sides there, and then I'm just going to line it up at the bottom, and it should line up with the rest then, and then I can go in and stamp it down. Again, I kind of stand up for this section. You don't need a ton of pressure at this part because it's going to transfer pretty easily, and I just go all the way around and make sure everything is stamped. And there we go. You can see that beautiful impression that you get with the new stamping foam, and it covers that full background. Now, like I said, this is what really happens. You don't need super in-depth detail on your stamping foam. You don't need that super deep impression. All you need is just this really kind of light, thin impression. And even if you think that it was a fail, just test it out, right? Because you can always flip it to the other side of the cardstock and try again. But I wanted to share that too, that don't get discouraged if you have the stamping foam and it is not going super deep in there. Of course, if you have like a thicker item, it might be a little bit easier to get a deeper impression. But I've actually found that the thinner impressions give you a lot more detail of the image on there, because sometimes if you press too far in, it's going to skip out on that detail because it's too far away from the surface to actually press in. And yeah, so some people were complaining about like pressing it in too far and then not getting any detail. So I find that this was a great happy medium, and it's almost going to kind of force people to not get that super deep impression, and you're still going to get great results from it every single time. I love it. I'll have a little mister linked down below, but any sort of water mister should work. I just like to make sure that it has a super fine spray to it. And then I just clean up with the Distress Sprayer. Just spray a little bit of water down. The super fine mister I actually only really use whenever I'm doing my stamping foam, or whenever I am spraying down a stamp and I want it to not really blend too much. That's where I bring that fine mister in. I feel that there's different tools for different jobs, and that one really does the job when I don't want to skip out any detail, but I want to get a kind of a watercolor look. So there's that beautiful background. And now I want to show you guys, same thing with the stamping foam. This is the exact same type of foam, right? So I'm going to go in and heat this up. And you guys will see, just like magic, it's going to disappear out of your stamping foam. So just by reheating it, it's going to make it way more usable again, and you can keep reusing it over and over. You can press this down into different images and get even more play with the exact same piece of the stamping foam, which I love. So it's just the same thing as the other foam. You get to heat it up, it'll become nice and flat again, and then you can reuse it for different tasks. It's a little bit stained from the last image, but I assure you, it is completely flat and ready to use for the next impression. So there we go, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this and seeing the stamping foam demonstration. I hope you loved seeing the stripes as well. I had so much fun kind of crafting on different projects with you today, along with sharing some products from the brand new Simon Hurley Create release. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this release. I had so much fun just sitting and chatting with you. It's one of my favorite things to join in live and create along with you guys, especially on a release day, because I get so much amazing new stuff to show you. I'll kind of stay here for a second just to sit and chat. I'm going to leave a link again in the chat for my new release at Ranger. If you guys want to check it out, it is all live and ready to go there. So that is one thing that I really love. And I saw a couple of you guys in the chat talking about how you want to see me go live a little bit more often. And I think I definitely will. I'm not going to do a super constant schedule, but I will definitely share dates before I do go live, or share that preview before I go live at least a day in advance, so that you guys can kind of sign up and make sure that you're able to be here along with the live, which is exciting. Someone asked more foam. There is more foam in today's launch as well. It is that larger rectangle foam. So you're easily able to cover the whole size of an A2 size card, which is very exciting. And yes, Ranger says, love the stack of Lunar Pastes behind me. Yeah, we're slowly building up the pyramid of Lunar Pastes. We have quite a few there, and we're stacking them up like a little tower. But I love the little rainbow that it creates back there of all of those amazing colors. So thank you all so much for being here. I want to give a huge thank you to my team at Ranger as well. Megan is in the chat with us today, which is so amazing, but there are lots of people behind the scenes that help with making sure all these designs are exactly perfect before sending them in, and really sourcing all these products, and of course our lab, Steve. But Taylor, Ellen, Kathy, everyone behind the scenes, thank you so, so much. Everyone at Ranger does such an amazing job to make sure that all of my visions really come to life with these designs. So everyone, I hope you all have a wonderful day. And yes, one thing I do want to say before I leave, Christine says there's only one triple berry paste left. Ranger has these machines. It's almost like a vending machine, and that's where they pick the items from. But there might still be items still in the warehouse that they can refill that machine with. So if something goes out of stock pretty quickly today or tomorrow, just know to keep checking back pretty constantly, because they're going to keep restocking that machine, and there's going to still be more items in stock. Now, some things will go out for a while, and that means they don't have it in the warehouse either. But most of these newer items shouldn't sell out really quickly. And if it says sold out on the website, check back in a few hours, because it might be back. Just wanted to give that heads up, just because I know that some people see the sold out sign and then never come back. So wanted to give you that heads up. Thank you all so, so much. Again, thank you to Ranger. Thank you to all of you guys for showing up and being such an amazing and supportive community for me. It really means the absolute world to me. And I'll see you guys over on Instagram, on YouTube with more videos and more pictures using this release. All right, guys.